I think we're going to get started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to LOMA's Solutions for Industry Leaders webinar series. I'm Sharon Kessler, part of the Member Solutions team here at LOMA. This morning, we'll be meeting with Jim Kerley and Barbara Brown as they present Hiring from Outside the Industry, What You Need to Know. Before Jim and Barbara get started, I just want to give you some background on who we are. LO Global is the world's largest association of life insurance and financial service companies. LOMA is committed to business partnerships with over 1,200 worldwide members in the insurance and financial services industry. Our goal is to improve company management and operations through quality employee development, research, information sharing, and related products and services. We have over 70,000 enrollments and 12,000 individuals earning designations annually. We're in over 80 countries around the world and translated into 9 languages. Our sister company is LIMRA, and LIMRA is a worldwide research, learning, and development organization with over 850 financial service firms. LIMRA provides its members with the latest insight and analysis on retirement, insurance, and distribution, helping them develop effective business strategies that positively impact the bottom line. Together, we make up LO Global and are your trusted source for industry knowledge. And as that trusted source, we appreciate the fact that joining the life insurance industry can be a daunting experience. The vast array of complex products, functions, and terminology can be difficult to master. Even seasoned professionals may have considerable gaps in industry knowledge when they first join your organization. So hiring and onboarding professionals, managers, and executives who come from other industries presents a special challenge. How do we help valuable employees learn about our unique industry, products, and financial needs quickly? So today you'll hear more about this challenge and how some companies are successfully filling that initial gap in industry knowledge. Let's first meet our presenters, Jim Kerley and Barbara Brown. Jim is Chief Membership Officer for LOMA. He is responsible for member relationship management for 450 U.S. and Canadian members. Jim brings more than 40 years of professional experience serving the financial services industry as manager, leader, consultant, and advisor. He spent over 25 years with New England Financial, now part of MetLife, in senior marketing, professional development, and sales management roles. He implemented New England Life's first life insurance marketing relationships within the banking sector. And over the years, he has consulted with and trained thousands of sales managers and professional insurance advisors in areas of sales training, business development, client needs analysis, market segmentation, sales communications, lead generation, and local market awareness building. Barbara is Director of Insurance-Led Training in LOMA's Education and Training Division. She is responsible for managing the content, instructional design, and delivery of LOMA's instructor-led training programs. Prior to leading our immersion program, she worked as an immersion facilitator and assisted in developing LOMA textbooks and online interactive courses, including life insurance, marketing, and insurance administration. Barbara has worked in the development, design, and delivery of education and training products for several years with prior experience in business magazine publishing. She holds an FLMI, ACS, AIAA, and AIRC designation and is a graduate of the University of Florida. So now let's turn this over to Jim to share his perspective on industry trends based on what he sees in the industry in today's climate and for its future.
Sharon, thank you very much, and good morning. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. When we first began to conceptualize this topic, I asked my colleagues at LOMA if they could go to the LOMA Research Library to give me some background reading, and they have given me just a fantastic array of professional references that I have used in thinking about the topic, in addition to my real-world experience when I travel and visit with insurance companies and financial services companies almost virtually every week. So one LOMA plug is that if you're not taking advantage of the LOMA and the LIMRA research libraries, they're available to you as a member of our association, so make a note and use their research resources whenever you need them. You know, there are all kinds of things that are being written today about how to hire from the outside into our industry. Deloitte, KPMG, PwC, the Pew Research Organization, McKinsey, all have wonderful research reports and essays on the topic, and I encourage you to search them out. They give you a broad perspective on how important human capital is in our industry and how important it's going to be even more in the future. You can learn from a variety of articles about the new world of opportunity, especially in the insurance innovation space, which is going to be critically important as we think about onboarding employees from different sectors. And what about the future of jobs and job training, all being changed because of digital impacts and new techniques for training, many of which LOMA is using today in their designation courses. Two particular reference articles that I thought were quite important caught my eye. One is the 2017 Insurance Industry Employment and Hiring Outlook Survey, which has some good news, and I want to talk about that just a little bit. But the other reference I'd offer to you is LIMRA's award-winning resource magazine, and they have a wonderful article in the June publication, Technology and the Workplace of Tomorrow. And in that publication, it points out a variety of new jobs that are coming into our industry. The Insurance Industry Employment and Hiring Outlook Survey really took me by surprise. They spoke with about 72 insurance companies around the country, and they asked them about their hiring outlooks for the rest of 2017 and 2018. And here's the good news. Jobs, lots of jobs, that's the bottom line. In fact, almost all areas of life insurance industry is increasing their size from a national standpoint. And in 2016, the industry actually reached an all-time record employment, and according to the survey, this isn't going to slow down anytime soon. So what does that mean in a world of changing demographics, in a world of changing skill sets and requirements? Well, the top 5 positions, according to this survey, that we're going to be filling, obviously sales jobs, customer service, claims, underwriting, and technology. But as you think about our current workforce, it's interesting, as the survey points out, 25% of the workforce will be retiring in the next 4 years. So take that fact and the fact that, as the survey points out, insurance companies are becoming technology companies, we have a challenge ahead of us. So what I'd like to do today is talk about 8 elements of change that I think, in summary, are adding to the pressures and the dynamics of why our talent pool needs to change. In the next slide, you'll see the first 4 elements: market opportunity, things that are going on in the market, what's happening with distribution as it evolves and change, the impact of omni-consumers and omni-channels that we are now selling into, and operational efficiency. So those are the first 4 that I want to talk about in some detail. The next 4 on the next slide are overlaid against these basic fundamentals of our business. When we think about all the regulation and the Department of Labor, for example, all the work that's gone into the fiduciary standards rulings that have come out over the last 18 months, significant change in talent resource requirements. The whole world of product evolution and choice, we'll talk more about that. What about the impact of Insuretech, and as these Insuretech companies continue to either disrupt our business or become partners with our business? And finally, the last element of change I want to touch on briefly is digital and the need for the talent in both the digital and data analytics space. So let's just briefly jump into the market opportunity. We like to talk about market opportunity in the context of insurance selling, And in fact, there are about 70 million people that need more life insurance in this country today, and as we know, about 10,000 people are retiring every day. But I'd like to have you think about market opportunity really in the context of the talent market opportunity. Because as the boomers retire and as Gen X and the millennials are literally taking over the workforce, now more millennials in the workforce than any other generation, we have opportunities to source different kinds of talent. And I thought the reference that Deloitte, in their article, The Human Capital Trends in the Insurance Industry, had a really interesting point. They said that the change in talent demographics are inherent impacts on how the talent market will function. And they offered us 5 particular ways to think about the employment, the talent economic continuum as they thought about the category of balance sheet employees, the traditional employees, full-time statutory employees, but there are also other sources of talent that we need to deal with and onboard today. Partnership talent, borrowed talent, freelance talent, and then open source talent. These are all dynamics that we didn't need to think about just a few years ago. But yet, as we bring on employees, we have to deal with those realities. So when you think about market opportunity, think about the populations, the generations that are entering the workforce today and what kind of talent requirement there needs to be. The next topic is the distribution evolution. And while for many of us on this call, direct sales may not be part of our everyday job, but the fact of the matter is that our sales force, the people that go out and talk to our customers every day, is changing. Numbers of new advisors in the insurance industry are not growing at the rate we want. Independent advisors are aging. The whole new world of registered investment advisors are starting to have an impact on our industry. We're working now with more direct-to-consumer sales opportunities, which brings in new talent into our home offices. And finally, the work site is creating new opportunity and new demands. So as we think about distribution, how we go to market in the future, what are the talent requirements that are inherent not only at the point of sale, but back in the home office around sales management, product development, and so forth? What are the talent requirements that we have to think about and consider for the future? The next idea that I wanted to talk a little bit about is operational efficiency. And if you're in underwriting, if you're in claims, if you're in customer service, you know that everything is about operational efficiency. And you're involved, I'm sure, in making significant changes to advantage your organization and provide the best customer service you possibly can. New requirements about self-service, web chat, and texting as service opportunities, the whole world of artificial intelligence and underwriting. And it's really quite interesting to think about the dynamics of the whole area of operational efficiency, because I think that's where the insurance evolution and revolution may actually take place. In fact, PwC had a great point that in their article, Top Issues, AI in the Insurance Industry, Hype or Reality, they suggested that the first machine age was the Industrial Revolution, and that saw the automation of physical work. But we live in a second machine age in which there is increased augmentation and automation of manual and cognitive work. Cognitive work, smart workers, smart employees. What is the intellectual capital that we have to manage to make sure that our ongoing talent requirements are trained and brought into the industry in the right way? So that's a little bit about operational efficiency. The next idea I want to talk about is omni-channel consumers. we are all omni-channel consumers. We don't drive to our home offices, leave our cell phones, our smartphones in the car, and go into the office to live in an old world. At least I hope we're not. And so we know that many companies are aggressively looking at how do you serve the omni-channel consumer. And that requires new skills, new talents. It requires marketing expertise that we didn't have before. It requires data analytics skills that we didn't have before. So as we think about today's consumers and the impact of our industry that they're having, we need to acknowledge, and I'm sure we all do, the importance of having the right kind of talent who understand generational differences in ethnicity, the ways to go to market. So just a little bit on omni-channel consumers and why the understanding of those consumers are so important. The four that I've just gone over are basically the core of how we run our business. But more and more, we are being challenged by regulation, and both on the insurance side and on the security side. And what is that doing to our talent requirements? Well, I was at a company recently, and they were describing the significant increase in the number of compliance officers that they needed to hire, compliance staff. So we're seeing significant growth in the compliance area. Many of those people are coming from outside our industry. They may be lawyers, they may be compliance officers from another industry. How do we bring them into our industry and help them understand the core of how we work? So regulations will continue to drive the requirements that we have as we think about the skills and competencies that our associates are going to need in the future. That's also true in the area of product and product choice. If you think about the impact that the changes in underwriting are having on our operations side, I'd like to help you connect the dots between that and the opportunity that we have in product evolution and product choice. Our abilities to screen potential insureds, our ability to understand risk from a different perspective than the actuarial-based risk assessment will allow our product design experts to design products in a new and different way. But it's going to require new skills. Certainly, actuarial science will continue to be an important part of product design. But what about data analytics? What about understanding the nuances of data sets that we can gather from public sources? That's a really critical piece. And as a result, we're seeing huge hiring in the data analytics space, the AI space, the whole area of not just IT, but IT and a particular expertise. How do we bring that talent, which has a skill base that is pretty pervasive in any industry, into our industry, particularly at the senior levels, and help them understand how our industry works and how they can make an impact for the future. The final area that I wanted to spend just a couple of minutes on is the whole world of Insuretech and disruption. And you know, we have thousands and thousands of people and billions of dollars being invested in the insurance sector around technology. There are significant numbers of companies that are coming into our space with new ideas, new challenges. Some are trying to create disruption. Some are trying to create solutions that we can partner and be successful to grow and change our business. But as you think about that, there is a whole new world of opportunity, at least according to KPMG's report on that topic. And they suggested in that report that one of the challenges we're having is finding internal innovation. What are the internal challenges, the innovation challenges that companies are having? 74% of the people surveyed suggested that there's a lack of internal core skills needed to drive innovation. What does that mean? Well, what it means very simply is that we're going outside and bringing in new talent to help us think through the way we create our business. So as I've tried to suggest, as you think about these 8 elements of change in our industry, every single one of them is creating an opportunity for us to think about onboarding and bringing people into our business in a way that they understand the elements of our business so that they can understand the tradition and also leverage their new talent. As I think about how all this comes together, I was struck by an article that I was reading by Pew Research, the Pew Research Center, and they published a report this year called The Future of Jobs and Jobs Training. And it's a great report. I recommend you all read it. But there was one point of it that really I found quite interesting. The third theme that they talk about is the new credentialing systems that will arise as self-directed learners and learning expands. And I couldn't help but make the connection to our wonderful training programs and our certification and credentialing programs. For example, the FLMI, as many of you know, over 100,000 people have earned that designation. And now many of those people and many others in different sectors of our business are striving to earn the FSRI designation. So it's just 2 examples of how we have been able to help our employees in our industry really take a self-directed learning approach over the years for credentialing. I think it's very timely and very appropriate that we think about that as our training systems continue to be improved, our delivery systems are spectacular, and now it's time to think about next products. And the next product that we want to talk about is the whole question of how do you onboard and orient executives that are coming into our industry. And with that, Barbara, I'd like to ask you to take over, unless there are any questions.
Great. Thank you, Jim. And if anyone does have any questions, feel free to type those into the chat panel as I'm getting started here. Good morning, everyone. As Jim said and Sharon said earlier, I'm Barbara Brown, and I work with LOMA's instructor-led training programs. And Jim, thank you so much for that great information. It's wonderful, I think, for all of us to hear your insights from traveling around and meeting with our member companies and hearing about how they're dealing with a lot of these changes that are going on in our industry. So thank you. And as we just heard Jim talk about, there are a lot of changes going on in our industry, and hiring and developing the right people is going to continue to be important and maybe will be more important in the future than ever before. So as he noted a few different times, a lot of these people who have these specialized skills or these new skills may be coming into your companies from outside of the life insurance industry. And so they may be coming to you with little or no knowledge at all about the life insurance business and how life insurance companies operate. So how do you as a company fill that knowledge gap quickly and effectively? I'm here today to share with you a little bit about a solution that LOMA has that's designed to do exactly that, and it's called the Insurance Immersion Program. So I'm going to spend a few minutes now sharing with you a little bit more about this program, and I'll be happy to take any questions you have along the way or at the end. So if we can go on, oh, sorry, here, I'm going to do my own slides. Let's see if I can advance this. There we go. So Insurance Immersion helps companies fill that knowledge gap that we were just talking about by providing foundational knowledge that connects the dots for professionals, for managers, and for executives so that they better understand how what they do affects your company's bottom line. Many of our member companies use the Immersion program to help them quickly get new employees and sometimes current employees up to speed on key concepts about our industry, about our products, and about company operations. And by doing this quickly when someone is new to the company, it helps these folks make more informed decisions when they go back to their day-to-day jobs. So let me tell you a little bit more about what Insurance Immersion is. It's a lively, fast-paced, instructor-led program. As Jim mentioned earlier, LOMA's designation courses are self-study courses, and we have been providing those for many, many years. Insurance Immersion is a relatively new product for LOMA. It's been around for about 10 years, and it is a live instructor-led training program. And it provides a broad overview of the life insurance industry, its products, and how a company operates. And as I mentioned earlier, it's designed for professionals, for managers, and executives who need to quickly learn about or better understand the industry and the company in which they work. And what you're seeing here on the slide is a picture that came from a recent insurance immersion session that we held. This actually took place at a life insurance company in Argentina. We're very excited to, in this session, introduce immersion in the Latin American market in Spanish. So this is our first Spanish language immersion program. But the reason that we include it here is to give you a visual of what the program looks like in action. As I mentioned, it is instructor-led training, so we have an instructor leading the sessions, knowledgeable and skilled instructors who have a lot of information and experience in the industry. They cover a broad range of topics from a high level. So we talk about a lot of different topics, not in great detail on any single one, but looking at them as a big picture and how they each connect to the other. And as you see in this picture, hopefully, the program's designed to be interactive. So we have a lot of group activities where the participants work in small groups. They work on case studies and other activities that allow them to apply the concepts that we are talking about to actual cases and scenarios, so they can think about what they're learning and apply it to real life scenarios. And so it's engaging and designed to get them asking questions and talking about the things that we're learning so that it helps them remember it when they go back to their jobs. So obviously, we at LOMA think that the immersion program is a great program, but I thought that you might enjoy seeing what participants who attend the session have actually said. So what you see on the screen are some actual comments from participants in recent immersion sessions. After each session, we always ask the participants to evaluate the program on its educational content, on the format and the delivery, and the majority of participants overwhelmingly rate the program as above average or outstanding. And the comments that you're seeing here are representative of typical comments that we receive. And so as you can see, participants generally find the program enjoyable, engaging, relevant, and useful. And we're always happy to see these comments because that's our goal, is to present useful information in this program in a way that's accessible and engaging so that people retain it when they go back to work. So what information does the program cover? I'm going to quickly walk us through the topics. We can divide them into these 4 broad categories, and I'll briefly talk about each one. So we do an industry overview, and that's really to orient participants to the financial services industry in general and where life insurance fits into that industry. We talk about the different types of insurance companies, how they can be organized. We talk about risk and the important role it plays in our industry. We touch on regulation. Jim mentioned earlier a lot of hiring happening in the compliance area. Regulation, both state and federal, is something that we discuss. For folks who are coming into our companies from other industries, they may not be aware of the types of regulations that govern our companies and the complexity that adds to everything we do. So we orient them to that dual layer of regulation that companies have to deal with. And we introduce the concept of reinsurance so everyone's aware of it and understands how it benefits companies. And then we talk about products. So we talk about different types of basic life insurance products, some of their key features and how they're different from each other. We talk about distribution, various distribution systems, traditional distribution systems, and what's happening now in that space. Jim also touched on that with omni-channel distribution and what that means. We touch on supplemental benefits. We talk about annuities, basically explaining what they are and how they work, essentially, and some of the key features. And then we talk about pricing of life insurance products, And again, we're doing all this from a high level, so our goal isn't to send people out and have them be able to calculate a price for a life insurance product, but to tell them about some of the factors that go into pricing. Because again, if they're coming from a different type of industry where pricing is more straightforward, it's good for them to understand that there are some variables that affect the pricing of life insurance that we can't always control, and how that affects the company's profitability. So then we move on to talk about some of the key operational functions in insurance companies that are unique to insurance companies: underwriting, claim administration. We talk about the customer experience. This used to be just customer service functional area, and we've expanded it to talk about the customer experience as more and more companies emphasize and focus on being customer-centric. And then we wrap up talking about operational performance and the importance of efficiency and operational processes and risk management for companies. And then we also cover financial management and insurance immersion. And again, we do this from a high level, and the goal is to make the participants aware of what's different for a life insurance company when it comes to managing its finances than for other types of companies in other industries. So we have to think about not just profitability, but solvency. We explain capital requirements and policy reserves. Again, people who are coming from other industries, those may be concepts they're not aware of or don't have a good understanding of. And then we touch on the specific accounting standards and financial statements that life insurance companies have to file. And we talk about how regulators monitor all of these elements with insurance companies. Okay, so one of the great things about the immersion program is that it's offered in various formats to meet different needs. And so you see on your screen here some of those options. We have our public or open enrollment sessions. So these are immersion sessions where anyone from any company can attend. They're 2.5-day sessions, and in just a moment we're going to share the dates and locations of these sessions with you for next year. But these are a great opportunity for people to not only learn the content of the immersion program, but also to interact with people from other companies and share ideas and learn how different companies are dealing with some of the challenges that we have going on in our industry. We also offer insurance immersion on-site at your company. So if you have a group of employees, you can bring a LOMA instructor to your company and have them deliver the program there just for your employees. Generally about 25 to 30 participants. Because of the interactive nature of the program, we like to keep it at a manageable level. But that's a great way, too, for you to adapt the program, maybe customize it a little bit by having some of the experts from your company come into the session and maybe talk for 10 or 15 minutes or maybe a little bit longer about some of the topics as they relate specifically to your company. So we have a lot of companies who do that with the immersion program, and the participants tend to find that very valuable, talking about the concepts in general and then how they relate specifically to the company where they're working. We also offer the immersion program virtually. So we deliver the same program, the same content through an online interactive virtual classroom. We offer those in open enrollment sessions. So again, I'll show you those dates in just a moment. But basically, for the open enrollment virtual session, that happens over 4 days. There are 2 sessions each day. Each session is 2 hours a day. With breaks in between, so participants just call in and log into the classroom. They're online for 2 hours, and then they have some time in between to get some other things done, take care of some other emails and things that they need to stay up on that day before they come back to the second session. We have the same interactive discussions and activities in the virtual classroom. Although everyone is not physically together, they're able to go into breakout rooms and talk in small groups and then come back to the large group. And this is a great option if you have remote employees, if you have folks in lots of different locations and you'd like to bring them together for a training. We can do company-specific virtual sessions for just your employees. And then finally, we offer a Train the Trainer program with immersion. And this is where LOMA would certify trainers at your company to actually deliver the immersion program on site to your employees. And this is a great option for companies that want to put a lot of participants through the program. It's a very cost-effective way to do that. Okay, so as promised, I wanted to share with you our dates for 2018 for those open enrollment or public immersion sessions. You see we have 2 in-person sessions. The first will be in March in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the second will be in the fall, the end of October, beginning of November, up in Windsor, which is, we actually hold that at our LIMR offices, and that's where Jim is, so maybe Jim would be able to pop in and say hello. And then we offer 3 virtual sessions throughout the year, so in April, September, and December. And if you want more information or you want to register someone or yourself for any of these, you can do that through the LOMA.org website. Enrollment for our public sessions happens through the LOMA LMS. So it's pretty simple and straightforward, and of course I'm happy to answer more questions about that as well. And I'm going to wrap up with just a final comment from a participant in a recent immersion session, because I think this best sums up the goal of the immersion program. I really enjoyed the class. I'm leaving with a much better understanding of our industry and our company. So insurance immersion is a great solution if your company is looking for ways to help new professionals, new managers, even new executives coming in from outside the industry quickly get up to speed on how life insurance companies operate and how they make money. And as we saw earlier in another participant comment, it can also benefit current employees who need a broader understanding. We find a lot of immersion participants may have been at their companies for many years, but maybe they focused in just one area. And now, due to a lot of the changes that Jim was talking about, and the need to expand innovative thinking and those types of skills, maybe these employees need a broader understanding of how the company operates, of how the company fits into the industry, to be able to move forward with those new skills. So it's great for folks just coming in or folks who need that broader understanding. So thank you all very much for your time and attention this afternoon, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Barbara. We do have a question from one of our participants, and it is, would insurance immersion be similar to LOMA 281 and 291, just delivered in a different manner?
Yeah, thanks, Sharon, and that's a great question, Amy. Thanks for asking it. It is, I will say insurance immersion is derived from similar content that you find in 281 and 291. It is not as much detail as you find in the courses, and obviously because of the live instructor-led format, there's a lot more opportunity for asking questions and discussion. So I think for someone who's completed those courses, I don't know that they would learn necessarily new content other than the opportunity to apply it to the case studies that we do. The financial management piece is a little bit outside of those courses. So really, immersion is a great entry into our designation programs. Once someone takes immersion, they're really well positioned to jump right into 281 and 291 because they've been introduced to a lot of those concepts and can easily get into those courses and move through them. So thanks for the question, Amy. I hope that answered it.
And we do have another question. How long is the Train the Trainer program?
Okay, that's a great question too, and I'd be happy to get with you separately, whoever it was that asked that question, and give you more details. But basically, it's a 3-day process. We come and deliver the program on site for participants and for the facilitators who will be trained. So that's a 2-day program, and then we have a 1-day certification workshop for the trainers only.
Okay, terrific. Barbara and Jim are here to answer any other questions. If you want to either type it into the chat function or the Q&A function, I'd be happy to read them for you. Okay, I'm not seeing any others right now. I can take it back to Barbara and Jim if you had any final comments. For those of you who would like some additional information or had questions from either Jim or Barbara. I'm going to post right up on the screen, you can see here, email addresses and phone numbers for both our member solutions team or Barbara. And then if you have questions for Jim, I can certainly relay those over to him for him to respond to individually.
Yep. Well, I would just close by saying, as you mentioned in my introduction, I've been in the insurance industry now for more than 40 years, and I can't think of a more exciting time to be in this industry, particularly as it relates to the topic this morning. How do we bring new talent into the industry? There are opportunities to help all levels of potential candidates join an industry that's exciting and dynamic and changing in a way that we've never seen it before. So I really appreciate the opportunity to spend time with all of you this morning chatting a little bit about this topic and reinforcing the great work that LOMA is doing on behalf of the industry.
If either one of you has another minute, we had one more question that came in while you were just speaking.
Sure.
Which industry stands out as a good transition to the insurance industry that's non-technical?
I think, was the question specifically about the insurance industry?
Yeah, I'm reading it verbatim, and if that's
okay.
The person who had generated that question wants to be more specific, that would be great.
Okay. So obviously, the close alignment would be any other related financial services sector business, and you know, there's a lot of push. I cannot think of an insurance company, maybe except 2 or 3, that are purely insurance companies today. They're financial services companies with broad requirements for talent in, you know, on the investment side, the broker-dealer side, the compliance side. So I think that any of the financial services related industries and also the banking sector. But I also think that even though it's technology related, we have to really become, individually each of us, in some way a technologist. We can't ignore the dynamics of how technology is changing the way we all do business. And even, you know, as an example, as an underwriter today, you're using technology in a completely different way than you were 3 years ago. I'm using technology differently than I was. So I think non-tech sector-related industries, I would say, strongly connected to ours, financial services. But on the marketing and sales side, the other sector that comes to mind is retail, you know, consumer goods, because we're an industry that is learning how to become more customer-centric, learning how to understand customers and serve customers directly, the retail customer, in a way that we really have never had to do. So related to the marketing, sales, even the data analytics side, people that move from the retail sector into our sector are really talented and helping to change us, but they need to understand our industry as well.
Yeah, and I would totally agree with what Jim just said. I can say just anecdotally that this past year we did a lot of insurance immersion training sessions for companies for folks who were working in data analytics, in marketing and data areas, and a lot of those folks were coming from consumer goods type companies.
Yeah.
So we have seen that ourselves, and as Jim noted, they, you know, often in those cases, you know, they may not even really understand products very well because they've just had personal experience. They really have a need to learn more about not only the products but the business of life insurance as well. Good question.
Jim, I have a question for you.
Okay.
This person is curious about your take on AI as it pertains to underwriting and actuaries and disruption, or the potential to coexist and help mitigate risk in more detail.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating topic, and in many companies, both, you know, the reinsurance companies have been leading the charge, and a number of commercial companies like Nexus, Lexus have been investing heavily in helping to understand how you can assess risk in what we would consider to be a non-traditional actuarial way, and they're making great progress. And many companies are putting in AI-based underwriting systems that either that today are complementing and supporting the underwriting process. And so we're seeing, in my opinion, we're seeing two things happening. One is efficiencies in the underwriting process and the issue process, so we're able to compete more competitively with products that our consumers want instantaneously. You know, the days of waiting a month before you can get, or 6 weeks before you can get approval on your insurance policy need to be long gone. And so we're seeing a number of companies, particularly on the direct-to-consumer space, coming up with products in a particular market sector to issue very quickly. So you're seeing that dynamic. You're also seeing an evolution in, and I think you'll continue to see an evolution in the skill base for underwriters, where fewer and fewer policies in the smaller case market will be handled by a traditional underwriting process. So, you know, you'll need underwriters that understand the more complex cases and cases that are sort of kicked out, if you will, of the straight-through AI-based underwriting. I see it as I see this as a really good example of how technology and human capital will continue to support each other in new and dynamic ways. And learning how to work in that space is going to be both a challenge, but also a huge opportunity for people who, as I said earlier, want to invest in, I think, a very exciting time in our industry.
Thank you, Jim. I think being sensitive to everybody's time schedule, if you have any more questions, again, please feel free to either email our LOMA Member Solutions team at the email address on your WebEx page, or to Barbara directly at bbrown@loma.org. And again, if you have questions for Jim, certainly you can send them to the Member Solutions team. I'll funnel it to Jim. I did not, apologize, Jim, I did not post your email address up there.
Okay.
I want to thank both Jim and Barbara for joining us today, and thanks to Janet, who's been working behind the scenes today running our webinar. And special thanks to all of you who have participated this morning. As I mentioned at the beginning of our session, it was recorded, and we'll be emailing a link out to all of you so that you have the ability to refer back to the slides and listen to the presentation at your leisure. I'm Sharon Kessler, and on behalf of Barbara, Jim, and all of us at LL Global, thank you again for joining us, and happy holidays.